Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has slashed charges for automated teller machine, that's ATM, withdrawal and interbank transfers. CBN's review of the charges was contained in its revised guidelines to charge by banks, other financial institutions, and non-bank financial institutions. ATM withdrawals that attract a service charge of 65 naira will now be 35 naira after the third withdrawal within the same month, according to the CBN. It also slashed the interbank transfers to a maximum of 50 naira per transaction from 300 naira, and the CBN has also amended guidelines to charges by banks, other financial institutions, that's OFIs, and non-bank financial institutions. The CBN has downward reviewed charges for electronic banking transactions and electronic banking transactions as well. CBN said the reviewed guidelines include a review of other bank charges to comply with market changes. Now, let's get talking about this. I have Adewale Justus, a business development consultant, joining me live in the studio this morning to discuss this issue. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
It's my pleasure. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. Now, you'd recall that this isn't the first time the CBN will be doing a downward review of these ATM charges. Yep. In 2019, there was a review where it removed card maintenance fee on all cards linked to current accounts. That was in December 2019, and also asked the banks to charge a maximum of 1 naira per mil for customer-induced debit transactions to third parties and transfers or lodgements to the customer's account in other banks on current accounts only. Now, 2 years down the line, why is there a need to do this again? Does this mean that the first time it was done, it wasn't implemented?
Thank you very much. You will recall the peculiar nature with Nigeria. It is not the enactment of laws or directives that makes the issues of Nigeria be Nigerian. It is the compliance, monitoring, follow-up. Because like you read out, if it was directed then and it is being complied with, there wouldn't be the need. So the lacuna has been, we will churn it out, we will roll out the directives, but the mechanism and the spirit for monitoring and ensuring compliance has been the cancer.
So you're saying that it means that it wasn't complied with?
It was not complied with.
What do you think is responsible for that? Because I know that there was also a fine of 2 million naira attached, saying that any breach in the in that policy would attract a fine of 2 million naira to banks. So would you say that the CBN didn't do enough, or were there not enough consequences attached to it?
The consequence was ruled out alongside the directives. But monitoring and enforcement, you see, like I do say, I did banking as an internal controller, 15 years. Something very unique with internal control is that you churn out the policies and you follow up compliance. So it was not just the CBN giving out the charges, the directives, and the guidelines, but the ability and mechanism of following up. If I may share something with you, does the CBN, as we are speaking, have a mechanism to pull complaints by customers with respect to the directives for new charges? And if there was, because I am not aware there is any, if there used to be, did the CBN follow up with the respective non-compliant banks? So you will see the trouble here is not the directives, it is the compliance spirit. The monitoring mechanism. Does the CBN have a means of monitoring? And the other aspect, is there a pool or is there a trail between the Nigerian bank audience and the regulator? The CBN is the regulator here. Now, the banking audience, the customers, is there a route? Is there a chart?
Like a
is there a tunnel? Yeah. Through which the satisfied customers can get to the CBN with acknowledgement. Hello? Because
several times we hear them say you can send mails to us.
Those they are pseudo, they are default. You send it 7 million and 1 times. Nobody responds thereto. But are there mechanisms? Are there systems through which the satisfied customers or disgruntled customers can get back to the CBN?
So what kind of mechanisms are you looking at?
It's simple. It's all about the spirit of the letters. Hello? The guidelines are letters, but the spirit behind the letters. If the CBN has come out to tell us that though the bank is supposed to charge so, and now there is an open tunnel, open channel, through which anyone who gets charged beyond that by the CBN can revert to the CBN tied to a specific desk. Do you understand?
That's in maybe every bank.
Tied to a specific desk. Not just a pseudo platform or an open-ended mailbox. No. A customized mailbox, a desk. That the moment,
can make their grievances
for someone like me that is very procedural, if I send such a mail to your box, known to be a very direct and personal mail, I send it to you, you do not respond, I send a reminder, I send the third reminder, then physically I walk into that organization and seek a redress.
Now, the Director of Financial Policy and Regulation Department, CBN, Chibuzo Ifobi, in a circular said that the recent review was in response to further achieve an evolution in the financial industry. Now, going by this development, how do you see this helping us achieve that financial revolution?
There was something I discussed at a forum yesterday. You see, these non-cash related issues have a way of inducing a form of financial intelligence and financial literacy in the populace. Because even if you are not anyway lettered or learned financially, but if you are conversant with banking through the ATM or through the internet, if you are a regular or a constant user of those internet-oriented banking services, at a time you will be a bit closer to banking per se, because you will get used to it and then it will be part of what you know. So they have the opportunity or the possibility of enhancing the financial intelligence and literacy of the average Nigerian. Because with anti-cash cash banking, more people will get closer to the bank. Because like I'm telling you, I'm talking to you, I wouldn't know how many months last I've been to the bank. I have checkbooklets at home that I no longer use. Online banking, ATM-oriented transaction, and so on. So it would enable the people to get, and then for the national GDP and some other data, economic data, when online banking or internet banking of this nature is increased, the government at the central can capture more. So this portends a lot of opportunities if sincerely implemented.
That's
do you
it,
understand?
if we do the follow-up and monitoring.
If the regulator is sincere, per spirit, not by the letters, because the letters have been churned out. Who follows them? You see, there is a reporting structure for any serious government or any serious administrator or even a regulator in this instance. Okay, as customers, this is this line, this is this mailbox, to which these contents can be forwarded. If not satisfied or if not attended to, there is another that people can follow up with. Even the media would assist, but do we have such?
There's also supposed to be a customer protection network where you can report these things too.
Legislatively, there is, but inactive. Nobody works there. Nobody attends to your issues. So the problem is the spirit of the letters, not the wordings.
Well, let's look at one of the reasons the CBN said that they did this review. They're saying it's aimed at making financial services more accessible and affordable to various stakeholders in the economy. How would you assess the CBN's numerous bank charges, especially
Not
in recent
CBN,
times?
not CBN, it's the banks. Banks charges, not CBN charges.
If the CBN does its role of regulating, these banks would not be
Of
able
course,
to
yes.
impose these charges.
And you know, there's the banks latch on the negligence and the impotence of the entire banking audience. A lot of us, a lot of Nigerian banks customers who do not get interested in following up or even reporting some of these anomalies.
Because those who have reported have not gotten any results.
That is on that side. You know, as it is in Israel, so it is in Egypt. Now we know for the regulator, the CBN, there are so much gaps. But again, before you talk about the gaps, pin the CBN to such gaps by doing what you are supposed to do. If you are, as a customer of a bank, you have been overcharged, Because like I do monthly for some of my clients, I get all your bank statements at the end of every month, and I review and I summarize. Then I take account of all the charges. So if there is any anomaly, officially we write back to the bank.
But how many Nigerians can do that?
That is where the major issue is. Most of us are not that spirited to follow up such, but that is the bane of the financial crisis in Nigeria. A lot of us should sacrifice more to doing this, to going through this trail. It could be difficult, it could be tedious.
Yeah,
but that is what is required.
It is tedious, as you have said.
Yep.
But another thing is you going through all that effort and then getting the expected result.
If the number increases, they would not rest, even at CBN.
So in assessing how they have performed, especially in regulating these banks, in their unnecessary charges, how would you rate the CBN?
Sincerely, when this came out, because not minding the indolence on the part of Nigerian bankers, I mean the bank customers, at least this regulation keeps alive the hope that truly the CBN is not only watching, but CBN seems to act. And the bankers, I mean the banks now, on their part, with all each of these directives is an indictment. Hello? Indictment of a breach on the part of the banks. So the banks as well, they are very conscious.
But this time around, I don't think there's any form of fine or any form of penalty.
No, the extant fines and penalties subsist. Extant.
The one in 2019?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's only the areas that were changed that you saw re-legislated or redirected in respect of.
So does this downward review mean an ease in economic activities for businesses? And Nigerians
you would,
generally?
if you, like I said, I have some clients, there are volumes of transactions. And you see, because if you see the downward review of intrabank transfers, now that is free. If not free, if you summarize, we have clients that do over 100 or 1,000 transactions, even intra-bank transactions in a month. But with what the banks used to charge, you will see that's a loop on the customer's revenue. But now, if it is free, as it is being made to be, that's a lot of relief.
Means economic activities will now be easier.
Of course, it will be easier.
There are some people who are of the school of thought that this is also a way to push for the coming election, saying that yes, 2022 is here, a lot of electioneering is going on.
This is what I call political idiosyncrasy. People are just rising from nowhere to attack whatever is here. Let me share something with you. Yesterday night, when I was reading through this with my wife, I shared an opinion. Now, I said, with intrabank fee zeroized, do you know, as an employer, if you have 100 or 1,000 employees working with you, and you'll be making their salary payments to their respective bank accounts across many banks. But with this now, that would usually attract some charges. But now with intrabank transfers being free, you can get them open account in the same bank with the employer, and you make their salary credits FOC.
Now let's look at the impact of this particular downward review on the DMBs, as the deposit money balance.
Yep. Yes. Of course, although for some banks that have been active and alive, it does not negatively impact on them because their transaction. When you consider per mil and turnover, if you are a standing bank, you don't get threatened by this. So it's just for some other, and again, for some banks that have been trending on illegalities, because deliberate, like I shared with you, I review my client's bank statement. I have over 5 of them that I do every month. And from each of these, uniquely, there are some unique items of crimes, financial crimes, to certain banks. There are certain things that they deliberately do almost every month. But with this now, like if I'm interested in trouble, I can pull up 1 or 2 banks with these directives and expose these issues to the CBN. So there are impacts on the banks, but provided the banks is legal and legitimate in their operations, there may be no threat.
Well, let's look at the fact that the velocity of money would now increase, especially in the economic activities. Would this affect or impact inflation?
Of course, yes. It will definitely affect inflation because, the supply of money is a critical factor in inflation. But now, if online banking services, internet-related banking, non-cash banking services are disencouraged by directives of this nature if fully complied with and monitored by the regulator. Less of physical cash, and by implication, the government will spend less in minting and printing physical currency.
So how do you expect that to affect inflation?
It will affect inflation because it will reduce money supply in the economy. And the more money, you know, as an individual, if you are walking on the street and you are holding 1,000 naira in your wallet, and maybe at the junction, you saw people displaying this for sale, and on checking out, the price is 1,750. Automatically, you may be blotted out of the purchasing possibility of that because of the limited physical cash in your wallet.
So you're saying this would encourage
more of
online banking?
Yes, it will.
Because if you look at one of the things this hopes to achieve, it's also to bridge the gap between the banked and the unbanked.
Yes, because Nigeria has a large unbanked group. So it is now an encouragement because the ATM monthly withdrawal, that's a monthly transaction fee. Yeah, that ATM maintenance charge, then account maintenance fee. You know, if you have been paying 65 naira for an ATM transaction and it is now dropped to 35 naira, it's a respite so much, and that will now attract more people into the banking fold. That will reduce the volume of physical cash ravaging the economy, and then the discomfort of walking into a bank physically to do cash-related banking transactions.
So do you think this would reduce the revenue of the deposit money banks in any way?
Provided the bank is active per transaction and customer patronage.
How do you mean?
It wouldn't, because it's my... See, Adibin, you are a bank, and you've been having a turnover volume of maybe 2 million customers in a month. What has been taken off is meager when you pull it. But a bank that has been struggling to survive, and particularly on some bit of illegalities, because some of these overcharges, under the table charges, are what some banks thrive on. So such banks are in a jungle now.